It's good. Live on the website. Okay, everybody, we're live on the website. Maybe go close the door.
Yes. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Monday, June 13th, 2022 Board of Trustees meeting. The first order of business being public participation.
All right, so I have just a few messages. One, I'm going to summarize these because they came from a couple different people. So I had two messages about the desire for members of the public to have toys returned to the children's room. So we can talk about that a little bit later on in the meeting. Okay. Sorry, I'll get closer to the mic. So people were feeling that it was at the point in the pandemic where it would be safe and they would like to have the children's room once again be a little bit more of a gathering place for folks. My responses with that, was with the recent COVID spike and the fact that children couldn't be vaccinated, we didn't want to create an attractive nuisance, basically, where you would be gathering a lot of children together in one space at one time. And I said, though, given the fact that the COVID numbers are coming down substantially in the community and the littlest kids are going to be eligible, looks like very soon they'll be eligible for vaccination, that maybe it's time for that to become a little bit more of a individual parental choice and a little bit less of a public health concern. So I said, it's a good time. Thank you very much for emailing me. It was an opportune time to have that discussion. So there was that. I did have two questions from people about sort of the impetus for dropping the fines. And so I had some good conversations with those members of the public. And then again, as everybody saw, there was an article in the Times Union and our own press release about that information. So that's out there as well. So those are good conversations. And then the last one I have is from Ann Moore. She has two questions. One, will we be requesting trustee approval to speak about a lawyer about the questions raised when you and I spoke in person? So Ann came and talked to me, and I did talk to Mark about this. It was a question about whether the library has agency to purchase property. And there was a response from the New York State CLRC Ask a Lawyer that I sent out to everybody about that. So I still am investigating that with the attorney to see if we can get just a little bit more specific answer, but basically it looks like the answer is yes. And then the last one was, has the, yeah, sorry.
Yes, that we have purchased, or
yes, that we have,
or yes, we're gonna.
yes, we have the agency and the authority to make those purchases.
Okay.
Because of the subtleties of the types of library, I want to nail that down 100%. So it's still in pursuit, but basically it looks very strongly to me from what I can read that the answer is yes. And then the last one, has the house purchased as part of the library's recent project been considered for use by the community? Presumably it has separate rooms, a kitchen, and bathrooms, and it might be used to alleviate some space concerns. And I answered her back that was specifically a question that was asked of our architect during the long range planning committee. And it was at that point, the architect did not read it. It's a fine little house, but not suitable for library purposes. So that's where we are. So that's all the public participation I have.
I know I have a question on the second question aside, but the first question on asking, can a member of the public ask us to incur legal fees to research a
No.
legal question?
Nope.
We decided to simply do it as a courtesy?
Because of the nature of the question, I wanted to find out the answer, but I've incurred no legal fees or using sort of our freely available.
Part of the retainer?
Not even, it's not our attorney, but Upper Hudson retains the right through us, through the CDLC, sorry, the Capital District Library Council, for us to be able to ask a lawyer, ask legal questions that are specifically about library law. So
Okay.
that's
So
how I'm pursuing it. Correct.
Thank you.
Jermaine,
Just pertaining to toys, are you talking about puzzles? Were there things beyond puzzles in the children's room? It's been a while since my kids were kids. But
Yes, so in the in the recent past, we have had large Connect Four. There was a kitchen over there with food. There was one of the wire bead things. Chris could go in more, but we had a number of toys over there, and we removed them during COVID for obvious reasons. And this is a question about what phase we're in. This is the last phase of our pandemic response plan. This is literally the last thing that would come back. So it's a good conversation for us to have. Christine and I were having a little bit of that conversation earlier today, and we can talk about it here at the board meeting if you'd like to. But you know, with those changing factors, as I mentioned in my responses, with the fact that children are likely to be able to be vaccinated shortly, and the COVID numbers are coming down, it's a good time for us to talk about that. It wasn't, but it's not instantly like, let's bring those back. But I think there are libraries in the area that have the toys back in their children's room, and that was mentioned in one of the emails. It's really a matter of timing. You know, that's where we are.
yeah, I was just not just pertaining to the decision. I just was curious because I just haven't been there, so I just was wondering.
It was a lot of toys. We had a lot of toys. I mean, that's because we, you know, it was one of our children's literacy initiatives was that play are all pre-literacy skills, right? So we were encouraging pre-literacy skills in children with having those. But then it became very clear and incumbent that you didn't want to gather large amounts of small children in to breathe on each other in small spaces. So the question is just literally, is it time to think about that again?
And Jeff, I just wanted to point out, in addition to the public comment, I heard from 2 separate patrons the same question.
Yeah.
When is the library bringing back the toys? So clearly there's a few people that are interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, they're very popular, and I absolutely, no one wants more children than the fact that the children have been missing from the library for the past 2 years, it really has been marked how much they bring life to this building, and anything that we can do safely, we want to do.
yeah, we talked about this on through email, Jeff, but I also got a patron request about the 3D printing.
Yeah, and that's a little bit, that's,
People are starting to say, like, when are you gonna go back to full service? And
Yeah.
really, that's what I think.
Do we have a date on when the 3D printer will be available again? Because just tonight, before the board meeting, I had someone reach out and ask me the same question.
very shortly. Yeah, no, I don't have a date for you, but sorry, soon.
But I also want to say, Kristen, thank you for all the information pushing out through the weekly notes.
Yeah.
Letting people know what things are available and what's coming up. It's really hitting home with a lot of people. And a lot of people say, can you sign up? Yeah, can you sign up and get that? So it's a very popular.
Yeah, that open rate is about 50% right now, so when we send them
That's
out.
great.
The fact that so many people ask us questions is a testament to that.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the fact that they're reading all of these.
Great, any other public participation? No? Okay, anything online?
That's it.
More? Okay.
Well,
Any-
I'll just say I'm in a Facebook group for moms and they were also talking about the toys.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, the next order of business is a special resolution, which I'd like to take the time to read.
Mhm.
To bear with me. It's in honor of Ms. Redmond, so. And a resolution honoring Ms. Mary Redmond on her 10 years of service on the Bethlehem Public Library Board of Trustees. Whereas Bethlehem Public Library, within its charter, maintains the power and authority to adopt such ordinances and resolutions as it shall deem proper in the exercise of its powers. And whereas Bethlehem Public Library has been grateful for the service of Mary Redmond as library trustee for the past 10 years, serving as president for 5 of those years. And whereas Ms. Redmond has served as a trustee on the Bethlehem Public Library Board of Trustees through 2 terms of 5 years each, and during that time helped shepherd through a major upgrade to the library's HVAC system. And whereas during her time on the Finance Committee and her tenure as president, Ms. Redmond was a strong advocate and continues to be a strong advocate today, I will add, for the financial health of the library, including advancing numerous financial policies, strengthening the financial controls, and advocating for the creation of the district library treasurer position. Whereas Ms. Redmond intends to step down from the Bethlehem Public Library Board of Trustees after 10 years of service, and whereas Bethlehem Public Library desires to recognize, honor, and thank Ms. Redmond for her dedication, financial oversight, and hard work towards the betterment of the library. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Bethlehem Public Library extends its heartfelt appreciation and best wishes to Ms. Mary Redmond. She has admirably served the library as a trustee and president among her many contributions. Be it finally resolved that the resolution shall be entered in the Bethlehem Public Library minutes, and a certified copy featuring the library seal be given to Ms. Redmond, evidence of the public library's admiration and gratitude for her service. Are you, Mary?
Thank you very much.
And I'd just like to say from a personal
Very
perspective,
special.
from a personal perspective, I want to thank Mary for all her support and help, and we've served the longest together, and thank you for all your cooperation and help and leadership.
So can we,
How do you feel with the HVAC system as your?
I had to put it there.
Exactly.
I'm proud of what we did with that. We pushed through. And I remember the day that Jeff really had just about had it. And he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, it's not your job to know what you do. I said, what is our job? I said, we hire people that know what to do. That is our job. So sometimes you just need a little bit of, and I think back and I'm like, I don't know where those words came from. And I don't know how I gave you that, but we
Good
did
words.
push through and we did resolve things and things. So I was very happy where things came out. It was hard work. But I also want to thank the current and the other trustees that I served with and the staff. It is teamwork. It's teamwork. I have learned from every trustee that I have served with. And I appreciate how many times I changed my mind on things by listening to the other trustees, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the way the board works together. It is, you are entering very, very good board. So congratulations to you. But thank you all for making this such a good experience.
so we need a motion and a vote.
That was just discussion, right? So I'll call for second on the resolution. Unanimously seconded. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, your resolution is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say too, real quick, that your expertise and knowledge and grace and aplomb will be truly missed. The best of luck. Thank you.
Do we want to enjoy cupcakes during the meeting or after? I'll open them up.
I'd say go for it.
Keep going.
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to the regular part of the meeting. Seems like a little bit anticlimactic, but we'll review previous meeting minutes on pages 2 through 6. Give it a 2 seconds to review those.
You want to put them back here? Mary?
No, I could see everybody. I could see me going. That would not have been my finest moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, Jeff, perhaps as we go along, if you want to just increase that by 1 plus sign.
I will.
Because I know we'll get into the budget numbers and it's just, okay, thank you.
Oh, that may be too big. Hold on. How's that? Good?
Thank you.
Will we be using this format from here on out? Because I know before COVID, we always just brought our own devices. Are we doing this? Will this be it from now on?
I will do whatever you guys like.
No, I'm just wondering, do I still need to bring a device?
If you like this, if this works for everybody to review, then I'm happy to, then we can continue to do this. So we actually have a very similar setup in the boardroom that we just got going. So that's,
Yeah.
I personally like to be able to scroll
And-
when I want to see something ahead
Yes.
of what you're doing or behind what you're doing, whatever. So for me personally, I do kind of like to have that.
I mean, I think what we were so used to using the Zoom as an interactive way to host the meeting.
Yeah.
Now we're back to the original purpose that we bought it for, which was to stream out over YouTube so the public could see the meeting. And it allows for hybrid meetings too. So if there were a couple people that were away and others were here, we can do that this way. So,
And plus, if there's people from, members of the public present, they can also observe.
Yeah.
You know, what we're talking about by having space.
If we're ready, I'll make a motion to accept the.
I'll second it.
Second. Discussion, okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Seeing the opposition, the motion passes. And move down to the financial report. Sharon's not here today.
she's not here, so I'll just read her, I'll read
Okay.
the treasurer's report really quickly. So the revenue expense report, Sherry reports that the revenue expense report through May continues to show underspending in many categories, with expenses currently tracking 9% under budget. I expect that we'll have a budget surplus in the neighborhood of $350,000 at the end of the year. You will note that the treasury bill purchased on May 3rd appears in the cash and investment report. The pricing on the T-bill varies slightly from day to day, so there will be a small unrealized gain or loss reflected each month. The treasury bill cost was $993,201.88, but we deposited $1 million into the account. Thus, the balance of the account as of May 31st, including a small unrealized gain, is $1 million, $1,648.14.
Just FYI, I sent a note to Jeff and Shari and copied the officers that, and since Shari's not here, that's to raise this for the next meeting, just to think about any kind of trends on under tracking the budget and what that means in terms of both budgeting processes each year and what it might mean with the potential construction project on the horizon. So, but I'll postpone that issue for next meeting since Shari's not here.
And the budget year is in June, right?
Yeah, so we're almost there. It was one more month, and next month's meeting, we're reporting on the unofficial numbers, the unaudited numbers,
Right.
For the financial year in July. Any specific questions from the?
Yeah, I looked at it, I didn't have any. Do you have any specific questions on the actual report?
No, not all of them. Nothing on the warrant
Okay.
either.
On the warrant?
So we'll just look for a
Yeah, do you have
Motion.
any specific questions? Okay. I'll look for a motion to approve the treasury report.
Some
That's okay. That's
I'll
okay.
second.
And it includes the warrants.
Includes the
that
warrants,
are-
right.
That we do have attached to this, the payment. But I'll second that.
All those in favor, please, or any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so yes. Okay, great. Seeing no opposition, seeing no opposition, that motion is approved as well. Going to the personnel report on page 16.
Okay, so in the personnel report, I'm requesting permission to backfill a full-time librarian 1 and a part-time library clerk for 11.67 hours a week.
This one's done. The part-time clerk,
All of us.
Jam, did they leave and come back? Yes.
Yes, that's, but it was intentional. There,
Okay.
without getting, well, anyway, if someone is otherwise is involved in the retirement system and they retire from their other role, there's a mandatory time where they have to be off our payroll
Oh,
in order for the
okay.
retirement system to do its thing. And then they can come back on
Okay.
our payroll. So this was it's a little bit of a, yeah,
So they retired and they're coming back part.
Retired somewhere else.
they retired someone else in other, because that happens a lot, especially with our part-time. We have a lot of people in state or county or government employees.
Civil
So,
service,
yeah, you got it. But the desire to keep the job.
Why did I doubt it? Why did I
Yep.
doubt it?
it needs to be, yeah, it needs to be reported. I think there's a little source of a little consternation on the behalf of the staff that it's there, like, we understand you're not leaving your job. We're not, there's a little bit of a paperwork that has to
So
happen.
is there an actual, off the payroll waiting period back on the payroll? Can
Yes,
be
it
a
used to
day?
be much longer. The system used to require a whole month. Used to be, I have to be off for a month, but they've got that down to basically just a couple days or a day.
Okay.
You just have to be off the day that they retire so they can do.
Yeah, I
everything they
understand
have to
that,
do.
But I don't know if there's a waiting period where they're, to be like kind of off everything. and then they come back
It used to be a month and now it's a day,
Essentially
a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we
day.
went back and forth because we were like, no, thinking of the old rules.
in. Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. That makes sense. I have a question.
Right. We just can't interfere in their full-time work and their retirement from their full-time work. We can't interfere with it. So,
No, we can't. As a retiree, I would say.
Right.
Any questions on the personnel report? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve it.
Make the motion.
Second, one. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so no opposition, motion carries. Director's report.
okay. Just want to thank the community one final time. Thank you for showing such support to the library at the last vote where we had where the vote passed by 84.36%. And I want to then Sarah Patterson was elected to start in July. So thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. And-
What's your long-term goal, Jeff, for percentage?
Oh, I want to get to know. Oh, listen. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely.
I know,
It
it
keeps
used to
going
be
up.
75.
Yeah.
Now it's 85.
I want 90, right? Of course I do. I want 90, and I always like to be higher than the school district.
Which we were. I looked at that today. We were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you know the number of this, I know that the number of people who voted this election was extremely
It's
high.
high, and that's the net effect of that will be next year, the number of signatures for the people who want to run. That's the sort of the net effect of that. So it feels weird to talk about with the COVID numbers coming down so precipitously in Albany County. Thankfully, that's what we want to have happen. But really for the last month, more like a month and a half, COVID has really impacted our ability to run the library in a way that provides service in the way that we expect to be able to provide services. So we did have a number of canceled programs. Something has to go. I was thankful that we never had to shut the library down to go curbside only because of the limited amount of staff that we had in the building. But it only happened that way because of some superhuman efforts on the part of those last man standing staff people who were still here when others had to be out due to unexpected absences, either due to COVID or COVID adjacent, required leave, symptomatic. So it was quite a struggle for us, and we're not immune to those, just like all the other organizations, businesses either. But it was quite a bit. I just want to say officially here, thank you to the staff for working so hard to keep us opening. And I think a lot of members of the public weren't even aware of that.
I was in there, I never sensed it.
Yeah, it was, there was a lot of scrambling, and a lot of shifting to get those hours covered. So hopefully we're through that, back in the library and able to work. So the studio makerspace, which is where the 3D printer is going to be, we're having some issues with we want to be able to have that book online, just like requesting this room or the boardroom. It's a little bit of a different use, and they're having a little trouble with the software. It's not quite designed to do that, but they're working on that. But we are accommodating in-person requests from that, and we will for the 3D printer as well. Eventually our goal is people can sign up right online and come in and use it semi-automatically, but we'll take requests for it right at the information desk. So that's possible right now. And then I just did want to acknowledge both the work and the overwhelming number of people teen volunteers who wanted to work at the library. It was a lot. The teen volunteers who were here, I want to thank them. They did great work, as many of you saw with the float. They put the float together. Christine was coordinating with them to get that done. But there was just a lot of work that happened in the library in a lot of short time. But you know that volunteer hours take a lot of staff time, which we didn't have. And so it was just a lot of effort to accommodate as many of them as we could in the short period of time between sort of when the world started to open back up and graduation. So some of these teens had to have their credits in to be able to graduate. So we did as best we could with that.
Speaks to the new position that the board approved for next year's budget.
You got it. And just a lot of really good programs, even though some had to be canceled. A lot of summer, we're prepping for summer reading program. That's the focus right now, is working a lot for summer reading programs. So we worked up a script. Different schools want different things out of us. We have some librarians that are going into the schools, pitching the summer reading program. Other schools want a YouTube clip from us and a link with some information. In any case, we're sending the flyers. So those go home to all elementary, middle school, and high school students. So they'll know about the summer reading program. And then we send out a bunch of bookmarks. So there's a lot of work with that. It begins on Monday, June 20th, is officially the Oceans of Possibilities. That's our theme for the summer reading program for this summer. And that was the theme of our float in the Memorial Day Parade as well. The Friends Book Sale fundraiser was really good. Michael, who's our librarian who's focused on music, was able to bring in 2 music performers to work during the book sale. So that's the first time we've done sort of a program / fundraiser for the book sale. That worked out very well. And it was the Friends' biggest single fundraiser ever. So successful by any stretch of the imagination. So, extremely. I mean, I think it was really hot that weekend, but they're pleased by the outcome. I think as that keeps going, they're building an audience for it and people are coming to expect it. And we had quite a bit of materials for them. I think they were like, are we going to have enough? Yes. And, but they sold through a lot of the books. So just a lot of great programs. I'm not going to read this all to you here. Another baklava class, which was very popular. Some add-on of a hands-on activity for the coffee and conversation program, which has been going on for years, but that's just a little bit of a switch up to bring some new interest to that program as well. And then continued a lot of outreach. And as you know, given short staffing, trying to do outreach, which requires someone to be here and then someone to be there, is another challenge. So again, thanks to Chris and her staff in public services for making that work, as well as the folks from circulation who went out with them. We were at the National Senior Health and Fitness. We participated in the Memorial Day Parade, as we mentioned earlier. So that was, we had a 2-year hiatus from that. So it's glad to see that that was able to return. And thanks to everybody who was able to participate, and for Catherine for stepping in my place and being the emergency grand marshal of the library. So that's good. And fine free borrowing is happening. It's on rails now, so it's all out there. So there's not much to report on that, but the sort of back office processes that have to get ready in place, those are all going according to plan. And then we've added a few more items are now requestable than have been in the past. And I know requestable is kind of a weird word, but the desire for a lot of people want to have things here when they want them here. So they put a request in, we email them and they come in. So there's very few things now that are not available for request through the online system. So just board games and museum passes, which have their own complexities, fishing poles and magazines. So then a bunch of good continuing education. And then I did want to mention specifically that we received a certificate from the Bethlehem School District for providing volunteer opportunities for our job readiness training for our student interns. So that was, it was nice. It's a partnership that's been working for a long time, but it was, I think there seems to be a renewed interest in it from Bethlehem School District. So I was pleased to have that recognition. So that was lots of fun. Let me roll down here. You can look at all the pictures in there at your leisure. I just want to note a few things. We are already substantially ahead in our total circulation, which is this number right here. So we're at more than 500,000 circulation this year, so 536. We have one more month to go, so pure bonus. Last year, we were only at 469, and that was already, so that's a substantial improvement. Again, COVID circulation, but all the numbers are headed in the right directions. Increases across the board. Some,
I want to ask you a question. on
Sure.
one of them. So I look at the magazine numbers all the time. and
Yeah.
I go like,
why?
right. Why, this is one thing I focus on.
Yeah.
Because they're all over the place usually. But should we talk about our magazine, like who takes out magazines, that kind of stuff? Should we maybe have that conversation at a program level or something?
Yeah, we can, and they're heavily electronic. So many of like a bunch of the circular, I mean, still people who would be very sad to see magazines leave the
Yeah.
building. But we have scaled that collection down and focused on the items that are the most popular.
Okay.
And then, of course, in the electronic realm, they kind of come as packages and they're purchased by the Upwards and Library System.
Right.
So they're, have whatever kind of really weird niche, that shouldn't say weird, that is a bad word. Whatever, yes, whatever niche magazine people want to have, if it's available, why would we not make it available? So that's available online, so. But this year, you'll see that like children's magazines are just pretty much not a thing anymore.
Right.
So we're just moving away from that. I think that need is just being filled in a completely different way than
Right.
when I was young.
We got rid of children's.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see adults are down 70%.
Yeah,
So at some point.
Where do we see numbers for Canada? Is that on the graphs that?
it is, so I have, yes, they're in the graphs for Catherine. We can always get you those numbers and they're included in circulation
So
numbers.
I just want to mention that this morning on the Today Show, they talked about 2 really cool apps for people to look at for streaming.
Canopy,
Right.
excellent.
Canopy for your public library, got a nice boost there, so good.
Excellent. That's, I've never looked back when we move forward with that. Those two services, Hoopla and Canopy, they were pandemic services that we put in, but I don't think we get to put them down. They're just very, very popular. And wireless, lots of good uses. The electronic use is actually kind of interesting. So streaming video is up even from last year, but some audiobooks continue to have significant gains, but ebooks, a little bit of softening. So it's just kind of interesting as the world settles back out into whatever normal means now. These collections will rebalance into their new normal. Lots of good graphs in here. This is, I'm not going to focus in on that, but yes, I'll get you your Canopy
No,
numbers.
that's okay. I really
yeah.
wanted to mention it, because just on the Today Show, and they gave the plug, which is good.
Fantastic. So that's that. Any questions?
Are friends thinking at some point of accepting donations again for their fundraising, or are we just gonna exclusively let them take our waiting?
We had a lot of discussion about that for this. I know for this spring book sale and the fall book sale, they've made a decision. They're just going to go with the library discards. They're always open to that, and they know that that's the next big gain, but there is a lot of labor that is involved in accepting in even episodic way, accepting donations from the public. There's it is a huge complicating thing. I think it would be a good volunteer opportunity for the friends, but the hard part is to go from the capacity that exists right now to the concept that can be a little bit overwhelming for a volunteer organization. I think it's daunting. So I think they know that that's a way to go, and that that would only build on itself. And they know there's a lot of desire for that, but it's the desire of who wants to come in and sort through all the books. Who's that person? Who are those people? I think that's the difficulty they're facing down right now.
Yeah, there might be the team.
Well, I mean,
Workforce.
certainly kids,
Yeah.
high school students could be volunteering with
Exactly.
friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
I will also throw out, when I was active with that businessman and we did our tag sale, we educated people. We said, this is what we want, this is what we don't.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to be very specific. And once we really set parameters, you got rid of a lot of the junk that was coming in. We don't want 40 years worth of magazines. No, we don't want.
Yeah,
We don't
college
want-
textbooks.
No, yeah, give them categories to say we don't want them.
Right.
They're only gonna be trash. Please don't give us.
My sense is you just advise the friends and let them decide.
Yeah, that's, I mean, but they know that that's a way for them to grow. I think we could factor that into any building plans we were doing. That might be something to at least keep in the back of our minds about space for that sort of thing. Where does that happen? How does that happen? What space are there? Some libraries are gifted with lots and lots of room, and they manage to do this in a very easy way. And for us, it's a little bit more difficult.
Couple things, Mark. Sure. I noticed that one of your items was inclusive training around issues of race. It was way up
Yeah.
there. And just, I was at the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Ed. And for the first time, there was a noticeable presence of college and university librarians of color. And they were actually running sessions related to inclusive collections. And I came back with a resource that I gave to Jeff that they were recommending just in terms of, so, at this conference, it's been running for 35 years and it had, coming out of COVID, 4,000 people, the idea of library collections and library staff training was making its presence known. So, but the other thing is a request for next meeting. I saw the circulation numbers for this year.
Yeah.
When you do the total, even a rough total, it'd be interesting to see that number compared to numbers that were pre-pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, that's a great question. Catherine had a chart of that, and I said, hold off for the next meeting so that we could have a full picture of a year. We'll have she has a very nice chart that will show you exactly. None of it's going to surprise you. You're going to see, the pandemic year, which is down here, this year, which is, just slowly returning back to normal. And then the 2 years previous, which are a little bit higher than that. So we're approaching.
Any other questions for Jeff on the report? Okay, thank you. Moving now to the UHLS report. Lisa presenting the report for you.
Okay, as everyone knows, the annual celebration was June 3rd. They switched it to virtual, unfortunately. But one good thing is they apparently recorded it. So once we get that shared, I can send it out or tell you where it is. I want to congratulate the team for the win on Kindness Matters. It was not fun debating who should be winning that. So, and then the other piece I wanted to talk about was there was a speaker at the end of the annual celebration, Martin Gardner, about intellectual freedom. He is, what is he at Amherst? Is he like their main librarian?
Yeah, he's in the library.
So he's at Amherst College, and he was really good, and it's definitely worth listening to his presentation.
He's been on the ALA Intellectual
Yeah,
Freedom Committee
yeah.
forever.
Long time. So that's it.
Okay, great, thanks. Any questions? Okay, moving to new business. We have a couple items of new business. The first one is the board meeting video conference policy. Go to page 28 in your packet.
Okay, so I just I'm going to preface this by saying a little bit, just so we're not confused. Right now, we are operating under an executive order that allows for fully virtual meetings. But at some point, I expect that the emergency nature of that order will end. The pandemic, that part of the pandemic may come to some close, but there was some law that allowed for changes to allow for hybrid board meetings going forward after that emergency order ends. So this policy is about, after that, how we can move forward and allow for a certain number of board members to participate virtually.
And it was reviewed and commented by the policy committee.
Just thank you to Charmaine, who does a lot of work.
Thank you.
So basically, you can read it if you'd like to, but just in summary, this allows for a non-quorum, as long as we have a quorum in the building, there are 4 board members here at that site of the meeting. It allows for the other members under exigent circumstances to participate remotely and vote as long as they are on screen and visible during the meeting. So,
Okay, so can I ask what the reason for on screen and visible is? Just
that's required in the law. That's not, we're not deciding that. It comes from a desire to say you need to be able to see who's doing the voting, right? you could always have called in on a phone and listened to the board meeting and even spoken, but you can't vote. This is about if you want to vote remotely, you have to be visible. In the way, just like here, everybody in the room is visible right now. You need to be able to see who's making the motion, who says yes, who says no. So,
I only note that because Upper Hudson, this would apply to as well, and there are a lot of people that are not visible. So,
yes, Upper Hudson is not a government entity, so it has a little bit different rules than we have. We have to stick to the open meetings law. I mean, they do too, but we have an even more strict version of it. So, yeah.
I just have one correction typo, but I'll get that
Okay,
to Kristen and whoever.
thank you.
so do you want a motion on this tonight?
Yep, so we have to have a motion on this tonight, pass it, and then at the next meeting, we have a public hearing about it. If anybody's gonna comment, I can't
You would
imagine.
need to note your typo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I do have one point of clarification.
Yep.
Or just a question, maybe, just so we get it on the record. So if I want to participate, if I say have an extraordinary circumstance and have
Yes.
to participate by electronic means.
Yeah.
Do I have to notify anyone before I do that, or can I just sign in?
Well, we need to coordinate it, so we made sure we didn't have too many people. We had to make sure we have a quorum, so it would be, there'd be some coordination.
So from a process point of view, I think that's something that we should talk about
Yeah.
maybe at the next meeting, like within an hour or within, a day or something. You can let people know whether you could do hybrid or, okay. That's good. I don't think it has to be the policy, but I think we have to note that so we have to make it work.
second paragraph, second line, unless such members are unable. The
Are
word
unable.
"are" is missing.
Thank you.
All right, I make a motion to accept the video conference policy as noted in the board package with.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please sign by raising your hand. Seeing no opposition, the motion is carried. Thank you. This will be at the next board meeting as well, preceded by a public hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the next order of business is the MC salaries for 2022-23.
Right, which should have been distributed to everybody.
There's a handout.
Copy. So these are exactly in line, will come as no surprise, they are exactly in line with the increases seen by the union members of the library.
I read it at first, it's like, wait, decrease?
So when would the, assuming approval,
July 1st.
And these numbers were accounted for in the budget plan.
They were.
Motion on this schedule as in the handout.
So moved.
Okay. Second, Carolyn. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing no opposition, that motion carries as well.
I have an unrelated, well, a related question that's not related to the vote.
Okay.
Do the folks listed on this page have individual contracts?
No.
That might be something I'd like to raise in the future.
Okay.
Just, it could be carbon copy. Coming from the Board of Education, I know that everyone has,
Just the Me Too,
I'm sorry?
just a Me Too, sorry, Me Too contract or something similar.
So, yeah, and the wording's the same, talks about the
Yeah.
number of vacation days that each person annually signs. They don't negotiate it basically,
Yeah.
but it's just basically outlines vacation days, because oftentimes they'll say it's exactly the same as the other contract. So whether the personnel committee wants to consider, or I guess we are the personnel committee,
Yeah.
maybe we want to consider whether or not people should have individual contracts where that spells out vacation days and all the rest.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, yes, it's a good discussion to have, so.
Thank you. I have a question,
Mhm.
and I just realized it now. I don't think it's under old business, correct me if it is, and I'm not seeing it. The officers?
Nominating committee, yep, I got it on my sheet,
Okay, great,
so,
thank you.
you bet.
Okay, let's talk about the building committee. Or do you want to do something, do nominations, or you want to do building committee? So building committee.
Okay.
Okay, and the proposal from architect. So Harmeet's not here, I guess I'll take a shot to start. So with building committee, we went through the process of the architects, we talked to you all about that before. We got a proposal from Ashley McGraw, which was included in the packet. I urge you all to take a look at it. I had some questions, so we want to send it back to the building committee, just some technical questions, and we'll be set up a meeting in the next, in June, actually, to talk about that. It was a great conversation with the representative from Ashley, I can't remember her name right now.
Suzanne. Yep.
Suzanne, okay, with her, and she seemed eager to work with the library and, very interested in our ideas and thoughts. So basically, we're making progress here. But I would urge, and I wanted to make the proposal public so the public had a chance to look at it as well. It might not be, probably won't be the final exact wording, but I would urge people to look at it. Yeah, so that's the building committee, just making progress. Do you have anything else?
No, I just think it'd be great to have the meeting with the committee just as soon as possible,
Yes.
because to keep this rolling.
Yeah.
Because they have target dates, just which are rough, and I know can be weird, but once, it gets approved and once it gets going, we're on the road. So,
My impression is it can move very quickly when that happens.
And I've worked with these architects on the school board, and so I know that they are, eager to get started, but also they tend to meet those guidelines, unless we on our end do not meet ours.
Just for the benefit of the public, this is still in the discussion.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
We're
Yeah.
simply viewing this proposal.
Yeah, and I wanted people to take a look at it if they had any questions, because the building committee will talk about it, but we'll obviously take questions from board members, and then we'll bring it back. And hopefully at the July meeting to talk, to have a vote or really talk seriously about it. I think that the goal, as Charmaine said, is to just keep the ball moving. So this is the next step in that process.
Should there be any additional public notice information out about this being discussed at the next meeting? I don't know,
We'll put it out as widely as we can. It's really so this phase, without, I don't want to get, because it may change a little bit.
Yeah,
So
sure.
with that caveat,
No, just the
caveat,
process,
yeah.
like how do we tell
Right.
the public community that we are in reviewing and amending and discussing this?
Right.
Is it worth adding something to the notes? 'Cause I know that this is a matter of public interest and the transparency of this is something that is important to the public. Is it worth adding something to the notes that simply says, if you are interested in the library, I don't want to conflate the long-term building, but if you are interested in this issue about the library, please note that it is recorded, it's updated at most board meetings. So that someone who might be interested, they look through the notes and they say, okay, I'll pay attention to or I'll look at the packet, or I'll tune in.
Should we have a tab? I mean, should we think about at some point dedicating a spot where you say, you don't even have to go through all the meeting minutes. You can get the most updated information by going to the bottom on the website. And we're not there yet,
yes.
but I think that might be exactly what people.
But I think that this could be just, for those who are interested, we want to make sure that this early portion of it is transparent. I think that could provide some comfort, or at least let them know that where they can find the most up-to-date information.
Very good.
I did read through this proposal, and is there any redundancy with what Ashley McGraw is proposing in the early stages with what has previously?
Feels a little bit, yes.
That was one of my questions.
So that's, Mark had that same question. What we don't have is, as a board, and I use that as the widest possible us, say, this is exactly what we want. This is how we want to do it. Give us a design. If we wouldn't get this proposal. We would have a proposal of, here's our fee for design services for the library. This is a very tight 3 months to get us to where there's a drawing of a thing that you could begin to have a conversation with the public about, to say, what do we want to see in an actual design?
Well, I agree. And
Yeah.
the other thing is, I thought this through. My observation is we now for the steps they take, have a better idea than we did 5 years ago of what we are looking for. However, those ideas and input we got from the public were pre-pandemic.
Yes.
We are in a completely different world
Yeah.
right now. So in some ways, revisiting this stuff is very important to do and to see if people still have the
Yeah.
same reactions to things. So I think there's a lot of good coming out of it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for us to take a half step back to make sure that we don't take 4 wrong steps in the wrong
Yes.
direction.
The thing I noted here was, and granted, the time frame may change.
Yeah.
But they're suggesting a bond vote go up at the same time as the budget vote.
Yeah.
And I think the board should engage in a discussion.
Yeah.
And if, I don't think the
Well,
library's held out a bond for 20 years, right? Is that
Right,
correct?
that's correct.
Yeah, so that we can have some input from somewhere, again, I always think of Judy Keough, but
Yeah.
someone about the timing of bonds is an important strategy. I don't say publicly, it's a strategy in
Yep.
terms of public support. So, I'm not sure. We should get more information, and have a discussion about that, like what time.
Yeah,
frame
and
should we use
I
on
told her
the
to put
bond?
it in. I said,
It's in here.
as like a straw dog, put it in for the same time and make it, and that was one of my questions too. And the big asterisk saying, we have to have a discussion, there's a strategy part of it, but, just for.
For now, yeah.
Yeah,
For now.
they have
It'd be
a,
interesting to have a discussion and have some perspective. I don't care where
Yes.
it comes from, whether it's up or Hudson or school district or something, so for the
Right.
board, for those of us who might be newer to bonds and the whole, what goes into that, and also just in terms of public support and the timing. We should be considered small.
and I think they have a lot of thoughts about that. And we began to have that discussion and we stopped it because we need to have that both with the building committee and then again, to ensure that it's part of this process. And then with the board, they have a lot of expertise
Okay, yeah.
on this. This is one of the reasons they were selected.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I would urge everyone to look at it, both the board and the public, actually,
Yep.
and bring your questions, send in your questions on that. Because it is a big undertaking. Okay, any other old business?
Just the nominating committee.
Okay,
I have to admit, I was very impressed on this virtual author events coming up. I actually jotted a number of them down. Say, wow, I think I want to see them.
We're excited. There's 2 different sources going on here, but we're excited to be able to offer these out. Yeah. I think we're the first ones in Upper Hudson to jump on that, Chris.
I haven't heard of anybody else.
Correct. So, and they don't offer it as a consortium. We asked that question too, because we're consortial folks. We like to ask them.
I mean, I think a lot of authors got used to it during the pandemic,
Mhm.
so they're really comfortable with offering this. And they don't have to travel.
Well, and we have lamented for quite a while. It's been a while since we've been able to attract larger authors here at a cost that would work with the 90 people who can really enjoy the author presentation in this building. We've talked about working with the schools a couple times, but just the costs of bringing A-list author in have gotten astronomical in the past 10 years. This is a way that allows us to sign on and have that offer some very good content for the public. I'm excited. So thanks, Chris, for sussing that out for us. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Is it interactive, these meetings?
Yeah, there's questions that they're like, so you sign on and the public, the way it looks like it's for us, Bethlehem, but there's other libraries who are part of this library author consortium who are participating in it, but the public can ask questions and there's a moderator and some of those questions go up and the moderator asks the questions and they come back. So
It's like, it's a combination of the chat box, which some people don't use when they're lecturing, they can totally blow up on them. Working in the diversity social justice, some people run the chat box, people decide to drop in and just, bomb the chat box. But you can always take that off and just do the Q&A and then the moderators phone like do that.
I don't think that's going to be available on the library speaker one, but when you register online, there's a section to put in your question then.
thanks, Chris.
And then they select, because it's not only our library participating, there's other libraries across the country. They select a variety of ones and that's what the authors ask.
Okay. All right, so it's a little different.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great. Thanks, Chris.
I will say that the Writers Institute just scheduled their book
Okay, so
festival in September. So maybe if they're in town,
Yeah.
they might want to stop by too. So, They do.
They do.
good speaker.
They don't love working with us. They don't love it.
No.
I don't love it yet. Yes.
It's a little, it's competition, right? That's not, we don't view it as competition, but
Okay, any other questions? All right, we talked about nominating.
nominating committee.
We need one.
You do.
Exactly.
It's very important. This is a critical 1 month.
It is.
So that we,
Harvey's not here for lunch.
Exactly right.
So having not seen this before, I guess.
Yeah.
Or pay attention, I don't know. Well, how does it, how many people on the?
so we get a couple people together and then you contact all of your fellow board members and you try to talk them, strong arm them into being officers on the board.
Right,
Is that fair?
that's fair.
I'm the least qualified person to talk about this, actually. So
Yeah, that's
I'm not on the
about-
nominating committee.
It's more informal process of cajoling, I would say. And see what people's interests are. You know, I'm trying to, we did a good job with your committee, so I try to make sure that we, you know, we have work to do, but we did better than we've done in the past. So I think we gotta keep that moving forward.
In the 10 years I've been on the board, we have never had a committee structure like Montford does.
Yeah.
Just be clear about this.
We're trying.
He talked about it for a number of years and it just really built up to very highly functioning across the board. So, and people have stepped up, Joe. And I was uncomfortable asking Harvey to take on the building committee for this and just stepped right up. But he was the natural person to do it. So, yeah, but the committee structure is Mark's.
Oh, what, so I need a couple of volunteers.
What is it? I'm confused. What are we?
Volunteer to serve on.
creating a nominating
Yes,
committee?
an
Yes.
ad hoc nominating committee for.
Okay, I did this once before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You did.
I think everybody's done it.
Yeah.
Exactly, right, yeah. So any volunteers for this year? I mean, you could have a committee of the whole, if everyone wants to volunteer. it's not Great,
I'll be on the committee again. That's fine.
great. Anyone else want to volunteer?
I can't do it.
Might be
It's
you
gonna
and
be
me,
a committee
Michelle.
of one. Oh,
Yeah,
two,
it'd be you and
good.
me, exactly.
All right.
But,
Well, no, Upper Hudson's doing the same thing right
okay.
And, this is kind of cheating for not proposing to be on the committee. My policy, I would, I just like have to be for this month.
Sure.
But something that the committee has done in the past was propose the idea of 2 vice presidents.
Yes,
And the idea of that was very specifically because the president is a very, there's a lot of responsibility with it. And having 2 people to kind of work with there, but also having 2 people to potentially train.
Right.
To take on the presidency at some point.
Yeah.
So I would like to, like I said, cheat and suggest that to the committee going in, that I think that, and I think that actually worked out,
I
that
think so too. Yeah.
the year that we had co-vice presidents, that I think both of you, it was Brian at the time, both of you were interested in the presidency position, and Brian left the board for different reasons, for personal reasons. But we had 2 people kind of in the hopper. So I think that was very useful. And again, just spreading the responsibility a little bit, because I know that you and Michelle have worked closely over the year. And it would be nice to continue to spread that. Because you guys really shape from what I can tell, you do a lot of work to shape the discussion and the agenda and things like that. So
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good, yeah. Okay. So I have a committee of 2.
It's enough.
We'll still take, post the meeting, I'll still take, people that go home and really want to be interested. So send me an email, you say, yeah, I should be on the committee, I'll take emails, And then Michelle and I'll get together, we'll talk and figure out a process to reach out. So people should think about what they want to do for next year.
Sounds good.
Right. You might be first. So, right. So, yes, but, thank you. We'll get going on that. Are any other future business? Old business, any other business?
I just wanted to raise something that came up during the presentation, and I haven't talked to Jeff about it, but one of the things that Martin had raised during the intellectual freedom discussion was library policies about books that are challenged.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure we've talked about having a policy. I assume we have.
Oh, we
one.
do. Yeah.
I'm not sure I know what it is.
Okay.
So,
I can bring it to you easily. One of the things that one of the items that came up specifically in this is that you limit challenges to people who live in the library district to prevent people from far, far outside the library district from challenging resources that are paid for by people who live here. So that was one thing I noted and said, that is a really good idea. So we will have that for you next month. But there were a couple good things. The other thing, just of note, I won't keep you here forever, but there are challenges now to databases. So databases like EBSCO or magazine databases, those online educational databases like Webster's, they're being challenged in some states. Not so successfully in New York, but not in New York, where those challenges are happening as well. So that has to be included in our collection development policy, which is where you find that in the collection development policy.
Now, Lisa, when you say challenge me, people saying, I want that book to remove me. Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And they happen here.
Just to clarify. Yeah.
They happen here from time to time. We talk about them when they come up. Mostly, it doesn't.
displays.
Yes. Yep. So so we can talk all about that. It's a good idea just to this is ramping up nationally as a thing in libraries, and I think it's easy to become complacent because we have a community that really supports us, but that doesn't mean that challenges like that can't happen here as well. So we just need to be ready to go.
On the flip side of that question is how to get material added to the library. I just want to thank Jeff, my suggestions to add, they've been very accommodating to that. So if you had people, want to add to the collection, I think that's been great with that.
Yeah, we really, I mean, we're not all the way to patron-driven acquisition, but we take the items that people want to have in the collection, we take that very seriously. So, and we figure if one person is asking for it, someone else probably wants it too.
And the future business or any business? No? Any public participation?
Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
So you're doing the assessment of the catalog now. How is that going? I can postpone till next month if you want me to.
So, yeah, I know, we just started collecting HQ, that big red trailer, that just went live, so we haven't really used it yet, so next month we'll probably run more report. But we did finish, like an audit of the adult fiction.
And I just had a question about, on the public participation, the question that you got about fines. What
Yes.
exactly was the nature of the question?
It literally, I mean, I could read them to you, but it's literally like, what brought this on? That was the total question, came to the information desk. And another one said, the patron did feel that library fines encouraged him to bring back items. And in my response, I just said, we were looking at the data. The thing that he didn't realize was, I said, every library that touches our border is already fine-free. So in some ways, we don't have to ape necessarily all of our policies, but it really adds to the confusion when our policies are wildly different from the library. He said, oh, I didn't realize that this was, all the library, Albany and Guilderland and Voorheesville and RCS already all were, the libraries that our patrons tend to be our trading partners have already moved forward with this, some of them years ago. So, that was the argument that actually said, oh, he said he didn't realize that. And that's the end of it.
Okay, thank you.
You had brought something up in the email about, if you have any interest in putting together an editorial for the spotlight. I thought that the TU did a very good job of highlighting.
Yeah.
Kind of decision-making process, and I'm not sure if there's much more that we could say. I mean, we certainly, there's some value to come directly from the board,
Right.
but I didn't know what the appetite for that was. Or if we just want to point people to the TU article, which again, I thought was very.
Yeah, I think, the article that we got, I don't think we could ask for a better article as far as selling fine print. So,
I don't know that the spotlight would write it
Right,
now for us
yeah.
after the TU is running, so.
Agreed. Okay.
So, yeah, it's just gonna go out again in my column in the next
Right.
week, so.
Okay.
It'll be in there.
Great. It was one of our questions from our process. So thank you for reminding me about that.
and that we didn't go through that a little bit, but I'm assuming that's all on track.
It is.
Everything's
Yep,
going
yep.
well.
So sometime about the 24th is when the fine purge is going to happen. I shouldn't be telling people. Anyway. Shh. It's going to be a few days before the first. So just to make sure that we have a soft
Sometime
landing
first.
on the first, right. So that's already all it may in fact be the 22nd,
Okay.
maybe the day. So, so that we have a soft landing on the first and we're ready to move forward, but it's, I am fingers crossed that this is going to be the smoothest implementation of this of any of our local libraries. That is our goal. We've watched a number of other libraries and how things have happened and the challenges and weird things that can happen as you go through this process. And we want it to be as a smooth a transition as possible.
Okay, any other further public participation?
Nope. Oh, you know what? I have to check. No.
And we do a second session as well.
Yes.
So I need a motion, and a second to adjourn the board to executive session, discuss the employment history of a particular individual. Charmaine, Mary, okay. All those, any discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand.